They weren't just tractors, they were revolutions on wheels. Massey Ferguson built machines that changed what farming could be. Tractors so advanced, so ahead of their time, that the world simply wasn't ready. From the massive 1200 that farmers feared, to the digital 2000 series that confused an entire generation, and the 8S 265 that feels more like a spaceship than a tractor. These machines didn't fail because they were weak. They failed because they were genius too early. This is the story of 10 Massey Ferguson tractors that were too advanced for their time. Number 1. Massey Ferguson 65, 1957 to 1964. The MF65's biggest leap forward was its live hydraulics and independent PTO system, which allowed farmers to operate implements even when the tractor wasn't moving. Something that seems obvious now, but was groundbreaking then. Power steering, differential lock, and dual-range transmission added levels of comfort and control unheard of in the 1950s. However, these same advancements also worked against it. Farmers who had grown up maintaining simple Ferguson TE20s or Ford N-Series tractors were skeptical. The MF65's complex systems required more maintenance, specialized tools, and greater mechanical understanding. Many dealers struggled to explain its benefits to customers who wanted cheap, reliable horsepower, not innovation. Even though the MF65 was a technical marvel, it was too modern for its own era. Its higher price and new technology made smaller farmers hesitate. Ironically, by the time the agricultural world caught up to its design philosophy, newer models had already replaced it. Yet, in hindsight, the 65 was decades ahead. It laid the groundwork for the entire generation of MF utility tractors that followed, influencing the design of the legendary MF135 and MF165. It was the first Massey to combine comfort, performance, and efficiency into one platform. A tractor that didn't just plow fields but changed expectations. Collectors today praise the MF65 as the first real modern Massey Ferguson. It wasn't a bestseller in its time, but it was the machine that redefined what tractors could become, proving that innovation sometimes takes years to be appreciated. Number 2. Massey Ferguson 1100 1964 to 1972. In the 1960s, farming was changing. Fields were getting larger, implements were getting heavier, and horsepower demands were rising fast. Massey Ferguson saw the future coming and responded with brute force. The MF 1100, introduced in 1964, was one of the first tractors to truly push beyond the 90 horsepower barrier, a monster of its time that signaled the beginning of large-scale mechanized agriculture. Under its long, muscular hood sat a Perkins A6.354 diesel engine producing 93 horsepower, smooth, efficient, and reliable. It also offered the innovative multi-power transmission, allowing on-the-go shifting without clutching. A revolutionary idea in an age dominated by mechanical gearboxes. The MF 1100's hydraulic system was equally advanced, delivering constant flow pressure to implements, which improved productivity dramatically. But for many farmers, the 1100 was simply too much. Most farms were still small to mid-sized, and a 90 horsepower tractor was overkill. The size, cost, and complexity intimidated traditional operators. Multi-power technology, though impressive, was viewed with suspicion. Too fancy and too hard to fix were common complaints, and in some cases, mechanics unfamiliar with the system created more problems than they solved. The 1100's other challenge was economic timing. In the mid-1960s, agricultural profits were thin, and diesel fuel prices were climbing. Many farmers stuck with older MF65s or turned to competitors like the John Deere 4020, which had a simpler powertrain and a massive dealer network. Despite its lukewarm reception, the MF 1100 paved the way for the future. Its emphasis on comfort, hydraulic performance, and power set the standard for decades of Massey tractors to come. It was the right tractor in the wrong decade, a machine that pointed the way forward while being misunderstood by those it was built to serve. Today, the MF 1100 is recognized as a symbol of engineering ambition, the tractor that tried to bring the future to farms that weren't ready to leave the past. Number 3. Massey Ferguson 1130, 1969 to 1972. When the Massey Ferguson 1130 debuted at the dawn of the 1970s, it redefined what a tractor could be. Most machines of the time were purely functional, noisy, dusty, and tiring to drive. The 1130 changed all that by introducing true operator comfort into the field. It was more than just a tool. It was a workspace designed for efficiency, productivity, and well-being. The MF 1130 was powered by a Perkins 354 cubic-inch diesel engine, delivering around 120 horsepower. It came equipped with multi-power transmission and independent hydraulics, which made it smoother and more responsive than nearly any other tractor on the market. But what really stood out was its fully enclosed cab, complete with heat, ventilation, and even soundproofing. At a time when most farmers wore earplugs or scarves against dust, this was a luxury that felt futuristic. However, the very features that made the 1130 so special also limited its success. The new comfort-focused design added cost, and many farmers simply couldn't justify paying more for extras. Traditionalists laughed at the idea of an enclosed cab, calling it a living room on wheels. Many early adopters faced ridicule for owning something that seemed too posh for fieldwork. The 1130 also required precise maintenance, especially its hydraulic and multi-power systems. Farmers unfamiliar with these systems sometimes blamed the tractor when poor servicing led to issues. And while the 1130 was advanced, it was also heavy and fuel-hungry compared to smaller Masseys, not ideal for all types of operations. Yet in hindsight, the MF 1130 was one of Massey Ferguson's most visionary tractors. It predicted the modern farming experience, one where comfort equals productivity. Today, every premium tractor boasts air suspension seats, climate control, and ergonomic controls, ideas the 1130 pioneered more than 50 years ago. In its own time, the MF 1130 was too fancy for the average farmer. Today, it's remembered as the first tractor that truly treated the farmer like a professional operator, not just a worker behind a wheel. Number 4. Massey Ferguson 105, 1964 to 1975. Few tractors are as universally admired as the Massey Ferguson 135. Even now, nearly 6 decades after its release, thousands are still running worldwide. But when it first hit the market, it was viewed as too refined, too advanced for small farms that still relied on simpler, older designs. The MF 135 featured a Perkins AD 3.152 diesel engine, producing about 45 horsepower, efficient, quiet, and easy to start in cold weather. Its reliability was unmatched, and its fuel economy became legendary. With live hydraulics, differential lock, and an optional multi-power transmission, it was far more capable than most tractors in its size range. But that sophistication came at a cost. The 135 was priced higher than older models like the MF35 or Ferguson TE20, and many farmers balked at paying extra for features they didn't yet understand. Power steering and live PTO sounded like luxuries, not necessities. Some even claimed the 135 was too complicated for the average farmhand. The irony, of course, is that the MF 135 went on to become one of the most successful tractors in history. Once farmers experienced its efficiency and dependability, its reputation spread like wildfire. It was especially loved in developing countries, where it proved nearly indestructible, running for decades on rough terrain with minimal maintenance. The 135 was advanced because it merged comfort, performance, and simplicity into one balanced package. It wasn't trying to be flashy, just timelessly good. In its early years, though, it was misunderstood. Too refined for an industry still rooted in post-war minimalism. Farmers would later realize that the MF 135 wasn't just another tractor. It was the benchmark of reliability and design. Today, it's often said that if every modern tractor had the soul of an MF 135, farming would be a simpler, happier business. It may have been ahead of its time, but it aged into perfection. Number 5. Massey Ferguson 1200, 1972 to 1978. In the 1970s, Massey Ferguson decided to go big, literally. The MF 1200 was the company's first articulated four-wheel drive tractor, built to take on the massive open fields of North America and Europe. It was bold, aggressive, and technologically advanced. Powered by a Perkins 354 turbo diesel engine producing around 105 horsepower, it was designed for one thing: pulling power. The MF-1200's articulated chassis allowed it to pivot in the middle, providing a turning radius much tighter than any other large tractor. Its 4WD system gave it immense traction and stability, making it a dream for deep tillage and heavy pulling. From a technical standpoint, it was one of the most capable tractors Massey had ever built. But for most farmers, it was intimidating. The articulation system was unfamiliar, the hydraulic complexity daunting, and the price tag steep. Many dealers lacked the expertise to service it properly. Small and medium farms, Massey's core customer base, found it far too big for their needs. And then came the 1973 oil crisis. Suddenly, high horsepower tractors with large diesel appetites became symbols of inefficiency. The MF-1200, despite its engineering brilliance, was seen as impractical and expensive to run. Sales stagnated. Yet those who did own one often fell in love with it. Its stability on rough terrain, traction in wet fields, and operator comfort were years ahead of the competition. In hindsight, the MF-1200 was a precursor to the massive articulated tractors that would dominate farms decades later. The MF-1200 failed because it was misunderstood, a visionary machine built for a future farming style that hadn't arrived yet. Today, collectors and big iron enthusiasts look back at it as a piece of genius that came too soon. Number 6. Massey Ferguson 2000 Series, 1972-1978. By the late 1970s, the agricultural world was changing fast, and Massey Ferguson wanted to lead the charge into the future. The company's 2000 series, launched in 1979, was unlike anything farmers had seen before. With models like the MF-2680, 2705, 2720, and 2775, Massey introduced a completely new generation of high-horsepower machines loaded with technology that was light years ahead of its time. These tractors were equipped with massive 8.4L Perkins and Caterpillar diesel engines, producing up to 180 horsepower, serious muscle for the era. But what truly set the 2000 series apart was its introduction of electronic instrumentation, advanced hydraulic systems, and onboard diagnostics. It was the first time a Massey tractor could think for itself, monitoring performance, fuel use, and hydraulic flow in real time. The concept was brilliant, but it hit a wall. Farmers weren't ready for electronics in the field. In an age when most tractors still relied on purely mechanical systems, the 2000 series was simply too complex. The digital dashboards and sensors often confused operators who were used to analog gauges. Early wiring systems weren't fully weatherproof, leading to shorts, flickering lights, and diagnostic errors. Mechanics, untrained in electrical troubleshooting, often misdiagnosed problems, and the tractors quickly gained a reputation for being too fancy and too delicate. The timing was also brutal. The early 1980s farm crisis crushed machinery sales, and many farmers retreated to older, simpler equipment. The MF-2000s, with their high prices and futuristic features, seemed out of touch with economic reality. Yet, the truth is, the 2000 series was visionary. Its electronic monitoring and hydraulic automation became the foundation of today's precision agriculture. Modern tractors from every brand now feature exactly the kind of digital control system the 2000 series pioneered. In retrospect, the MF-2000 series wasn't a failure. It was a victim of being too early. It was Massey Ferguson's first step into the electronic age, a step that scared the market but shaped the future. Number 7. Massey Ferguson 2680 Turbo 1980 to 1984. The Massey Ferguson 2680 Turbo was designed to be the star of the early 1980s, a tractor that combined brute strength with luxury and ease of operation. Boasting around 150 horsepower from a 6.6L Perkins turbocharged diesel engine, it offered a level of refinement that most farmers had never experienced before. Its engineering was cutting-edge: electro-hydraulic draft control for smoother implement handling, high-flow hydraulics for versatility, and a cab that was truly ahead of its time. Quiet, air-conditioned, and built for all-day comfort, It even had ergonomic controls placed around the driver for maximum convenience, a concept that wouldn't become standard until years later. But the 2680 Turbo arrived at precisely the wrong moment. The early 1980s farm crisis devastated the global agricultural economy. Interest rates skyrocketed, land prices collapsed, and farmers simply couldn't afford expensive high-tech equipment. Massey Ferguson, already struggling financially, found itself trying to sell a luxury machine to an audience that could barely afford fuel. Adding to its struggles, the electro-hydraulic systems on early units were prone to calibration issues. The technology was excellent in theory, but delicate in practice, and mechanics unfamiliar with the system sometimes made things worse during repairs. Farmers began to mistrust the new electronic components, and the 2680 gained an undeserved reputation for unreliability. Yet those who owned one and maintained it properly often swore by it. The 2680 had power, balance, and comfort unmatched by anything else in its class. It was smooth, fuel-efficient, and capable of handling serious workloads with ease. Looking back, the MF2680 Turbo represented everything that made Massey Ferguson great: bold ideas, world-class engineering, and a fearless commitment to innovation. Unfortunately, it was simply a product of bad timing. The world wasn't ready to buy what Massey was selling, and an economic storm buried one of the best tractors of its generation. Today, the MF2680 is considered a hidden gem, appreciated by collectors and vintage enthusiasts, as a reminder of when Massey Ferguson aimed higher than anyone else and paid the price for dreaming too big. Number 8. Massey Ferguson 3690, 1986 to 1993. The Massey Ferguson 3690 was a tractor that looked, felt, and performed like it had arrived from the future. As the flagship of the 3000 series launched in 1986, the 3690 introduced an entirely new philosophy to tractor design, one that prioritized driver comfort, automation, and digital control. It was the Rolls-Royce of tractors in an age that still preferred simple, rugged machines. At its heart was a 190 horsepower 6.6-liter Perkins engine, tuned for torque and efficiency. But it was the Dynashift transmission that set it apart. This 4-step power shift gearbox allowed operators to change speeds under load without clutching, a groundbreaking innovation that gave unmatched control in the field. Combined with the tractor's advanced hydraulics and power management systems, it made the 3690 smooth, efficient, and easy to handle. Then came the cab, a revelation. Suspended for comfort, soundproofed, and equipped with digital displays, it felt more like an airplane cockpit than a tractor. Operators had climate control, ergonomic seating, and joystick-operated hydraulics. The 3690 offered a level of refinement farmers didn't even know they needed. So why did it fail to dominate? Because, once again, it was too far ahead. Many farmers were intimidated by the electronics. The Dynashift system, though reliable, was misunderstood and blamed for failures caused by poor maintenance or electrical faults. And the tractor's high cost placed it out of reach for many family farms. Moreover, early 3690s faced minor reliability issues in extreme weather, moisture affecting sensors and wiring, problems that later models solved, but not before the reputation damage was done. Still, the 3690's legacy lives on. Its design language and features became the foundation for modern MF tractors and influenced competitors across Europe. The concept of comfort equals productivity that it embodied is now industry standard. The MF3690 may not have been a commercial hit, but it changed the way tractors were designed forever. It was the tractor that made farming feel like driving the future. Number 9. Massey Ferguson 8690, 2008 to 2013. In 2008, Massey Ferguson stunned the agricultural world with the release of the MF8690, the most powerful conventional tractor in the brand's history. Delivering 370 horsepower from a Sisu 8.4L turbocharged diesel engine, it was a monster of modern engineering. But raw power wasn't the point. The 8690 was built to be intelligent, efficient, and environmentally conscious. This was the first tractor to combine such high horsepower with Tier 3 emissions compliance, featuring advanced electronic fuel injection and engine management systems. It also came with Massey's Dyna VT continuously variable transmission (CVT), offering infinite speed control without shifting gears. The ride was smooth, the power delivery flawless, and the fuel economy impressive for its size. Inside the cab, the 8690 offered luxury more akin to a truck or airplane cockpit. Touchscreen displays, data tracking, and automatic headland management made it feel like a digital powerhouse. It was built for precision agriculture, ready to communicate with GPS systems and field mapping tools long before many farms used them. But once again, Massey's genius outpaced its customers. The 8690's price tag was massive, its complexity daunting. Smaller farmers dismissed it as overkill, while larger operations questioned whether electronics-heavy tractors could handle long-term wear. Early units also suffered from software and sensor glitches, which, although minor, reinforced doubts about reliability. The result? Sales lagged, even as reviewers praised it as one of the most advanced tractors ever built. Within a few years, competitors like John Deere and Fendt introduced their own CVT-equipped high-horsepower machines, validating everything Massey had done first. In hindsight, the 8690 was a decade ahead of the industry. It proved that sustainability, precision, and high power could coexist, a lesson the world would only fully learn years later. It may not have been a bestseller, but it was a trailblazer that set the bar for every large tractor that followed. Number 10. Massey Ferguson 8S265, 2020 to present. Even today, Massey Ferguson continues to push boundaries with tractors that redefine what's possible, and none more so than the MF8S265, introduced in 2020. It's not just a machine, it's a technological statement about the future of farming. The 8S265 features the radical Protect U design, separating the engine from the cab with a 24-centimeter air gap to reduce noise, heat, and vibration. The result? The quietest Massey cab ever built. Inside, the operator sits in a high-tech cockpit with digital screens, joystick control, and a fully customizable interface that connects to GPS telemetry systems and smartphone apps. Under the hood, the 8S265's ADCO Power 7.4L engine delivers 265 horsepower, optimized by Dyna e-Power transmission, a hybrid of CVT smoothness and direct drive efficiency. It's cleaner, faster, and smarter than any Massey before it. But while engineers celebrated its brilliance, some farmers hesitated. The 8S series launched during uncertain global times, economic instability, high input costs, and skepticism toward digital dependence. Many traditional operators prefer simpler machines, fearing that too much tech means too many things to break. In regions where internet connectivity is poor, the tractor's data-driven features are underutilized. Still, the 8S265 represents the boldest vision Massey Ferguson has ever put forward. It's designed not for today's farms, but for the farms of tomorrow. Precision-driven, automated, and sustainable. It integrates machine learning, remote diagnostics, and predictive maintenance, things once seen only in industrial engineering. Like the MF65 and 2000 series before it, the 8S265 may be too far ahead of its time. But history has shown that Massey's two advanced machines eventually define the future. The 8S265 is not just a tractor, it's a symbol of progress. It might take years for the world to catch up, but when it does, this machine will be remembered as the one that once again proved Massey Ferguson's timeless motto, born to lead. Every one of these tractors shared the same destiny, to lead, not follow. The MF65, the 135, the mighty 3690, the unstoppable 8S265. They weren't just machines, they were milestones in engineering courage. Each one pushed the boundaries of what farming could be, decades before the world was ready to accept it. That's the true legacy of Massey Ferguson. Not perfection, but progress. Because in a world full of imitators, Massey dared to be first, even if it meant being misunderstood. So the next time you see that iconic red tractor, remember behind every success story are machines that were too advanced for their time, but never forgotten. If you love stories of innovation, power, and machines that changed farming forever, hit that like button, subscribe, and keep those engines running. When the Massey Ferguson 65 was released in 1957, it marked a defining moment in the evolution of modern tractors. The world's farms were still dominated by small, lightweight machines designed for post-war simplicity. But the MF65 arrived like a glimpse into the future, bigger, stronger, and smarter. It featured a 45 to 50 horsepower Perkins A4 203 diesel engine, a powerful hydraulic system, and innovations that would shape farm machinery for decades to come.